President Trump, whose sometimes erratic behavior in office has generated an unprecedented debate about his mental health, declared on Saturday that he was perfectly sane and accused his critics of raising questions to score political points.
In a series of Twitter posts that were extraordinary even by the standards of his norm-shattering presidency, Mr. Trump insisted that his opponents and the news media were attacking his capacity because they had failed to prove his campaign conspired with Russia during the 2016 presidential campaign.
Now that Russian collusion, after 1 year of intense study, has proven to be a total hoax on the American public, the Democrats and their lapdogs, the fake news mainstream media, are taking out the old Ronald Reagan playbook and screaming mental stability and intelligence, he wrote on Twitter even as a special counsel continues to investigate the Russia matter.
Actually, throughout my life, my two greatest assets have been mental stability and being, like, really smart, he added.
He said he was a very successful businessman and television star who won the presidency on his first try.
I think that would qualify as not smart, but genius, and a very stable genius at that.
Elaborating during a meeting with reporters at Camp David later in the day, Mr. Trump again ticked off what he called a high-achieving academic and career record.
He raised the matter only because I went to the best colleges, or college, he said.
Referring to a new book citing concerns about his fitness, he said, "I consider it a work of fiction and I consider it a disgrace."
But fewer Republicans are willing to say that now that Mr. Trump is in office.
Indeed, Mr. Graham in November chided the news media for trying to label the guy some kind of kook not fit to be president, even though he had said the exact same thing a year earlier.
One exception has been Senator Bob Corker of Tennessee, who said Mr. Trump had yet to demonstrate the stability required of a president.
For his part, Mr. Trump has accused his critics of being mentally impaired.
He regularly describes adversaries with words like crazy, psycho and nutjob.
But the discussion has now reached a point where Secretary of State Rex W. Tillerson, who has been reported to have privately called Mr. Trump a moron, was asked to weigh in during an interview with CNN on Friday.
I've never questioned his mental fitness, Mr. Tillerson said.
I have no reason to question his mental fitness.
Democrats, however, say they do.
57 House Democrats have sponsored a bill to form an oversight commission on presidential capacity.
The 25th Amendment, ratified in 1967, permits a president's powers to be transferred to the vice president when the vice president and a majority of the cabinet or a body created by Congress conclude that the president is incapable of performing his duties.
Congress has never created such a body.
Representative Jamie Raskin, a freshman Democrat from Maryland who drafted the legislation, said it was time for Congress to do so.
He said his concern was as much about cognitive issues, citing the president's occasional slurred speech and inability to form complete sentences.
The 25th Amendment was passed in the nuclear age, and we have to keep faith with its central premise, which is there is a difference between capacity in a president and incapacity, said Mr. Raskin.
We haven't been forced to look at that question seriously before and now we are.